What's going on, my creative collective? Welcome to lesson number 34 for A Course in Creativity, Telescopes in Tree Forts. This is inspired by A Course in Miracles workbook lesson 34, which is I could see peace instead of this. Now, I love this reminder, this invitation into our beginner's mind to admit not just that there might be a multiplicity of things that are happening behind the scenes that inform what's going on, but this also invites us to consider that there's the possibility for peace. Now, this is super important in the world that we live in right now because it is one that thrives on chaos a little bit. Like, it's sort of the temperature of our internal world can so easily get set to chaos. It can get set to chaos because of the way that the world, like the news cycles work, how available we are expected to be a lot of the time, right? Plugged in all the time to social media, to be available all the time, reachable all the time, not to mention news cycles and how many really intense things are happening around the world right now, let alone the different energies afoot within that, right? So we really start to understand that there are different ways of looking at things as we progress through. That's true. We also know that there's a multiplicity of reasons why something is happening. That's also true. This is an invitation into your beginner's mind. And this is also taking a look at what peace means to you. Understanding what peace means to you, because we say, well, I want peace. I want to be at peace. I don't want drama. I don't want chaos. Sinking into what that looks like for you and understanding the ways that you might put up defenses against it, right? So, and this impacts your creative power. This impacts your ability to create in your world, because when your heart is blocked by these situations and these energies, it's really difficult. It's really difficult for you to step into any kind of power because you're in a state of constantly overcompensating. You're constantly trying to refill your cup because it's empty, and it's like a rush to the finish line when there's a more peaceful alternative available. So chaos can kind of present an ultimatum. So if we're not ready to take specific steps to do something, chaos can present this ultimatum where we have to act. So in a way, we not only live in a world that has us at this set point of constantly being on edge and needing to act, it also has this tightened and wound around this idea that we have to act quickly. Like, we have to act so fast and not be in that place of understanding that we can see something other than the emotion that we're feeling, right? Because emotions, we know, are temporary, but yet we identify with them so profoundly and so extensively. So this is really also about understanding that sometimes chaos can become the way that we free ourselves. And that's something else that we're used to, I think, right? Change doesn't happen in peace usually. Change in the world that we live in and the way that things have been going, change usually happens at a breakneck speed, and it also happens at a speed that is it doesn't really allow for that sense of peace to come about, right? We have these whiplash policy decisions, we have these whiplash legal decisions, and then we have to respond from that place of chaos that they cause and create within us, right? So it squeezes the capacity for our minds to be able to hold that peace of mind about the world around us, right? It kind of squishes that right out. It doesn't snuff it out, but it squishes it. And so it makes it so that is the ultimatum that the world gives us, and we can internalize it. And I think that a lot of folks do internalize the idea that the only way to respond to the world around you is through chaos, that's like productive, or that's creation, that's manifesting, is knowing what to do all the time with everything, when really what peace is what is the thing to aim for, because it means that regardless of whether the manifestation shows up, regardless of what's happening outside of you, you're good. You're good. You're stable inside. And that's what stability, it's not that stability is the opposite of chaos, because we know these things exist on a spectrum. So it's not an either or, it's a both and. This is also about seeing peace when it doesn't immediately benefit the ego, which is the trickier part of this equation, right? It's the trickier part of the equation, because when peace immediately benefits the ego, we fall into this gumball machine spirituality where we put the quarter in, and then the gumball comes down the swirl, and then right out, and pops out, and we have the gumball because we did the thing. And that's sort of the way that peace can present itself to the ego when we are trying to relieve ourselves from pain and suffering, as opposed to wanting peace for the sake of itself, right? So that is where we can slip into this. And I think that true peace from coming from within you, not because external conditions have matched up to something that makes you feel good, True peace that comes from within you is unshakable. It's unshakable. There's nothing that compares to that. No manifestation can touch it. Nothing, because it exists independent of things arriving at your doorstep, right? And I think of all of us as just a bunch of, adults. We're a bunch of grown-ups with these beautiful inner children hanging out in tree forts and making our way through the day. And the telescope here is really choosing to see peace and knowing that you can see peace, knowing that you can hone right in on it, but that it's not necessarily something that is turned outward. It's a telescope turned within. Right? Is a telescope turned within. And this is where we get vulnerable too, because vulnerability is part of this big time, right? You can't exist in the present moment and admit that inner peace is your priority and that peace of mind is your priority without being a little bit vulnerable. Because then the things that you've put in place of that peace before, like manifestations, stuff, people, all of that then becomes at risk. That's in question. That's it's no longer a secure thing. It's no longer a sure bet, right? So that's a bit of vulnerability that can come with this, but I could see peace instead of this. Who doesn't want more peace? Most people don't want the being of peace. They want the relief from suffering. They want the alleviation of the pain that they're immediately in, because inner peace resists this temporary, satiation of something. Right? It resists that. Whereas inner peace, not to make that the singular goal, because when you make that the singular goal, it too becomes a way that you can disconnect, right? Because it's outside of you and you do not have it, so it's outside of you. So when you get into that place where it's outside of you, it's really difficult to sit with it from a place of being. This all comes back to many of the principles that we've talked about in this course so far, which is being back in the present moment, because that's where you can embody yourself. That's where you can be embodied. That's where you can be in peace and real peace that comes from within you, not because the conditions have lined up, because the vision board manifestation came through, because the things are working out perfectly. The thing to understand here is that when things are not working out perfectly, that is when you need a cultivation of peace within you. Because when things are not working out perfectly, it means that we have short-sighted vision, and what we need is long-term vision. And that long-term vision comes from being in the present moment, number one, but it also comes from believing that there's the possibility for peace beyond what we are feeling. Because a lot of the time, our reaction to the world around us is a feeling. It's not our perspective. It's not what's happening. It's not what's real. That's the feeling that we're having in response to what we're seeing. So there's a gap in between, right? And this is where being in ourselves, embodied in the present moment, in our heart space, and just paying attention, being in the beginner's mind. We don't know what something is for, true. We don't know why something is happening necessarily, also true. So it would be the next logical conclusion that we could come to, that we could see peace instead of whatever it is that we're seeing. And this doesn't mean we have to fix things happening outside of us. This doesn't negate that harmful things or bad things are happening. This means that you have you have more access to the peace within you that is going to give you clear sight, that is going to give you the ability to navigate those things, those challenges, those obstacles, really bad news, right? It's going to give you the ability to navigate those things and to understand the timeless part of you that exists before and beyond it. So that's the wisdom that will help you get through things, that will help you navigate your day. And that's the wisdom that is not attached to an outcome or to an identity or to how you feel. Because the minute that you attach that, it starts to pull at your energy, because it makes less of your energy available for what you might feel matters most. The meaning that you're making in your world, less of you is available for that. Because more of you is caught up in reacting really to whatever it is that's happening around you. There's no creative spark with this lesson. This is just the lesson, and it's just a quick reminder. It's just a quick reminder that you can be in your beginner's mind, and that peace is available to you at every single moment, right? So I will leave it here, my friends. So if this resonated, please like and subscribe. It helps me to grow this channel. And if you want to connect, there are other ways you can do so on the channel, so check that out. But if this is where we part, I hope that wherever this finds you on the time-space continuum, morning, afternoon, or night, it finds you very well and wrapped up in so much love and reminders of peace in the present moment. Have a great day.